Hey friends, my name's Gabrielle and welcome to FrumiousReads, and today I'm here with a book recommendation. Now, these are books that you might like to enjoy if you, like me, have recently devoured the new content put out by Markiplier, which is a new edition of a choose-your-own-adventure that he created called In Space with Markiplier. Alright, a lot of you may be wondering, like, Gabrielle, what got you into In Space with Markiplier? And the answer may surprise you. I actually use these Markiplier videos for my job. For those of you guys who may be new to my channel, I work as a speech-language pathology assistant, which is a really fancy way of saying that I do speech therapy. So what I've found, especially in the day and age of where teletherapy is a huge thing and virtual practice, is that these choose-your-own-adventure games are the best way to engage with my clients and also keep it fun and interesting and still do that goal work. It's great for social skills, in terms of like reading body language, perspective taking, tone of voice, serious versus sarcasm, idioms and figurative language, just like tons of stuff off the top of my head, to name a few. And I not only have been using In Space, but I've also been using Heist with Markiplier for this, and also there's a bunch of other choose your own adventure games. I know Shiloh and Co. or Shiloh and Bros was inspired by Heist with Markiplier, and they've made their own Among Us choose your own adventure. But basically, this has been super useful for me to use as a tool while also being something really fun to do from just like a storytelling / consumer perspective. So what I'd like to say now is, since I've been using this for work, I have seen through both part 1 and part 2. Okay, put on my glasses, and not only did I shut the door and lock it, I brought in the dog. Come here. Come here, buddy. He's gonna be my new alarm. Okay, moving on. Not only have I seen part 1 and part 2 of this whole adventure series, I have been through it many times. Why? Just ignore it. If you guys have not gone through this yet, I highly recommend it because you don't really have to know like Markiplier or like any of his friends or whoever's in the series to know what's happening. It's very much like sci-fi based, adventure based, where you are the captain of a ship and you have to save the crew and the ship from being sucked into this wormhole type thing. So while you're on it, you have to make choices that affect not only your reality, but the reality of every universe you exist in. And it really goes a lot into that in part 2, and I just really love the whole storytelling in general. Like, the story itself is insane. It's just, there's so much detail, there's so much plot and build up, but you only see it if you take certain choices. Definitely something really fun to do. I really recommend it, and it was just fun to watch. I'm actually wearing the cloak merch I have that seems to fit the space theme, which is the alien one, and I figured I'd go through and recommend 2 books that if you really like the In Space with Markiplier adventure, that you would probably enjoy reading as well. I have 2 books for you guys today, so it's gonna be real quick. The first book I'd like to recommend is called The Fold by Peter Klein. Now, this is a book that is so good. It's a technological sci-fi thriller, and it's about this genius, Mike Erickson, who has kind of chosen the easier path. He has a genius level IQ, but he's chosen to live like the average everyday path because he doesn't want the attention or the kind of stress that goes around with being known as a genius. But an old friend reaches out to him one day and says that there is a company nearby that has developed a way to fold realities and create the first ever transportation device. And it's something that's going to completely change the method of travel for humans. It's a huge scientific leap. So instead of it being like a linear path, right? So if you have let's say this is paper, you draw a line and you have 1 dot here and 1 dot here, instead of them having to walk on the linear path and walk on that line, they fold that dimension together so that now they can just step from one place to another. So it's a really cool idea. Like, the science behind it actually sounds really interesting. I'm not a science person, so I don't know how accurate it is. And while they make this discovery, as they go on testing and as they try it, they kind of have to suffer the consequences of what it means to fold dimensions and how they actually end up getting more than they bargained for. Of course, Mike gets caught up in this. It's an amazing book. I really enjoyed it. I like that the tagline on the back is "Step into the fold, it's perfectly safe," which is any person who's ever encountered any kind of horror, sci-fi, TV show, film, book, they will tell you that that means the exact opposite. Do not step into the fold. It's going to be extremely dangerous. Here's a little spoilery part, but this is kind of how it relates to the In Space with Markiplier. So if you're not into spoilers, mute and jump to this time, and then you won't hear any spoilers. In this, it talks about folding dimensions, and when they do it, they think that they're just folding their own dimension, like their own dimension of travel, and like that linear line, it only applies to the reality that they're in. What they later discover is that that's not true, and really when they step through that fold, either they themselves or the destination is an entirely different reality with only like the subtlest of changes. And this really kind of relates to the In Space with Markiplier, mostly part 2, actually end of part 1, beginning part, depending on like what path you take in part 1, but mostly part 2, the idea and the fact of folding realities. And they realize that folding realities and putting them together to get from one place to another does more than just like transport you, but it changes you. And there end up being huge effects of this consequence of it physically changing the fabric of reality that you exist in, and you going through that fabric into what essentially could be an entirely new one. So you can change stuff in one reality that affects another reality, and like just kind of how everything intersects, and just really the merging of different realities via the wormhole in space and the fold in this book. So if you were really interested like by that, like how I was, this book is perfect for you. Spoilers ended. Definitely read this if you're interested. The next book I have is called Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And this was really popular in like 2016 when it came out. I got an ARC copy, so an advanced reader's copy. Definitely read it like in one sitting while I was on an airplane. It was insane. In this book, we get another scientist. His name is Jason Dessen, and he is actually kidnapped and wakes up in a place that he doesn't recognize with people who know him, but he doesn't know them. One of the last things he hears before being kidnapped and waking up in this strange place is, "Are you happy with your life?" And in this new place that he's woken up, he's not married to his wife. He doesn't teach physics at a college, but instead is like a genius known worldwide for his innovations and his new inventions. And his son doesn't exist. So he realizes that he's somehow woken up in a new reality. He has to figure out, 1, how he got there and what happened, and 2, how to get back, and if the reality he remembers was true or if it was a dream, and if the place he's in now is the true reality. It's super interesting. It definitely addresses like those what if moments, like instead of taking this job I took that job, or instead of, you know, what happens if I turned right instead of left, like in Doctor Who. Definitely explores that question, and I feel like it's more science heavy than The Fold is, but it's still done in a way where like laymen like me can understand. Now spoilers again, if you don't want to get spoiled by this book, skip ahead to This Desired Time. If you don't care, then go ahead and keep listening. How it kind of relates to In Space with Markiplier is that at one point, and well at many points really throughout the whole series, is that you are confronted with different versions of not really yourself, but different versions of the crew, different versions of the Space Federation that's kind of trying to figure out what's going on, different versions of the people working there. You really don't know like who is the real or who is the first one. And in the trailer actually, it says this, it's like, do you know who you are? And that really comes into play in this book. Mostly the second half. There comes a point where Jason is confronted with other versions of himself who are all trying to get back to the same place, but because he has crossed so many realities that now there's this effect of multiple versions of him trying to do the same thing, and so they all kind of have to fight to get back and figure out who like the true one is. Anyway, that's the end of the spoilery section. Like I said, if you are interested in a more scientific and more, I feel like this one's more emotional and more like family based, and this one is just more like action adventure style. So if you want more of an emotional, like tug on your heartstrings, family-based kind of book, definitely try this one. If you're looking for more of an action adventure that really doesn't have like the whole tragic romance or anything like that in it, check out this book. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read either of these books. I think I recommended them on my channel before, back when I was doing the book a day challenge where I read a book every day in 2016, 2017? God, I don't even remember. Yeah, I did that. It's linked in the playlist if you want to check out when that happened. That's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you thought of this video and what you thought of the books, and if you've watched Space with Markiplier, because it's really good. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.